We just had one of the most insane weeks in the markets. SBF got arrested. CZ is coming under fire from the Justice Department, which caused a lot of FUD, and there was actually $6 billion in withdrawals from Binance, but it appears that they have survived. And there's also a bunch of FUD because they have not revealed their full proof of reserves. They've only revealed their Bitcoin holdings, which is causing a bunch of questions if they are insolvent or not. And on top of that, guys, the Federal Reserve just raised 50 basis points once again, and Jerome Powell decided to say, guess what? We're going to be doing this for a long, long time to come, which then crashed the market. And I'm sure a lot of people are losing money right now, but not me, because I'm going to tell you exactly how I plan on making over $100,000 on this trade and based on all this FUD that's being spread right now. Now I'm up about 54, 55K. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just my personal trading decisions, what I'm doing with my money. You got to figure out how to trade, which I just so happen to teach. Link's going to be below. But let's get into what my game plan is. And it's been, yes, one of the craziest trades I've been in a while. In fact, this is the longest short I have ever held, I think, in my entire nearly 20-year trading career, which has been in the US 30, because let's take a look at what's going on here in my MT5. Again, this is through our partner, Hydra Funding. If you're not with Hydra Funding, you are in the wrong place, especially if you have an account under $25,000. But let's just get right into the trade and see where I started shorting here on US 30. I believe this was one of the CPI numbers. This could have been CPI last month. And we just went through the last CPI again and the FOMC meeting. As you can see, every time we had a news event that came out, I continued to short into the spikes, short into the spike, short into the spike, short into the spike, short into the spike, and one last short into the spike after we saw that big spike to the upside leading into the FOMC meeting, of which they raised the federal funds rate 50 basis points, and then basically continued to talk about that we're not out of the woodworks yet, and they're going to continue raising the rates until they feel like they don't need to do it anymore. So there wasn't really any sort of hope in sight or light at the end of the tunnel based on everything he was saying. He just said, we're going to continue doing it until we don't need to do it anymore, with the goal to get inflation back to 2%, which is a long, hefty goal that we don't know what's going to happen. In fact, he said, we don't know if we're going into recession or not. He has no fucking idea. That, to me, creates a lot of uncertainty in the market, especially after we just went on a nearly 50-year record run for the US 30. I do believe we're going to see at least a 10% pullback, potentially even lower, if this actually officially does roll over, which we now have a bull trap officially here on the US 30, of which was a very complicated trade, because if we look at the channel here, okay, this was initially what I was trading, was this channel that's forming on US 30. I made a shitload of money here. I made a shitload of money here. And then I was getting short again right here, looking for a bull trap, but that did not end up happening. We actually held support here and then went on an epic bender of a run. Basically, those three pieces of news, the PCE, CPI, and the FOMC, all happened within this range right here, which basically was the last pieces of news that can really drive the market up. And now that all that news is out of the way, we kind of have a buy the rumor, sell the news event, which appears to be happening right now. We failed to hold above these highs here. We now have a bull trap right here, and then one last spike on the FOMC. Now we have a confirmed bull trap in play with a close below, of which right now we still have about 9 hours left on this candle. We don't know what's going to happen, but if we look at the intraday chart, I do believe we're going to be consolidating here for quite some time and eventually break down this channel, which is going to be breaking down below these lows right here. I do believe if we get below about 33,420, that's going to be kind of the catalyst to be like, okay, this is officially reversing. This is going to turn into a snowball effect, and we're going to finally get a rollover here in the markets. There's not really any new data coming up until the next, FOMC meeting and CPI numbers, which I believe is about a month from now. So I do think that we're going to probably be continually selling into the next numbers that are actually coming out, especially after a huge run. I just think that it's very logical after a parabolic move in the markets. It's very logical that we will see at least a 10% pullback, of which, again, if you've been watching any of my other videos, the average pullback of every single one of these pullbacks over the last basically year and a half is about 9 to 12% on average for pullbacks on every single one. If we look at the current high here and judge a 10% or 9% pullback, that would bring us about 8.43% off the highs, would be about 31.9. And that's basically where I'm looking to cover, right around 31.7 to about, 32.1 in this range, right about that pivot point, as you can see here. That's where I'm looking to cover my position. And if that does occur, I'm going to make about $100,000, a little more than $100,000, I think, on these trades. Brief interruption here, guys. Did you know that 75% of traders have accounts under $25,000? This creates a huge problem problem because even if you double that account in a year, which is almost impossible, you're still only making $25,000. Introducing Hydra funding, where you can potentially get access up to $500,000 in capital. All you have to do, guys, is sign up for a challenge account, which is going to give you potentially access up to $500,000. And if you earn a 10% profit in this demo account without going into a 5% loss overall or a 4% loss in a day, you will then pass their evaluation phase and yes, get access to an account with the selected size account. And now, instead of trying to double a $10,000 account, you could potentially earn only 10% on a $100,000 account to earn the same level of profits. And the benefits of this are huge. Rather than risking your entire $10,000 on one account, you can use just $1,000 to potentially get access to $100,000 in capital. You can trade crypto, Forex, stocks, CFTs, gold, oil, everything under the sun, all on MT4 and MT5. If you're interested, if you have an account under $25,000, like 75% of traders out there, you're not going to make any money with that account because it's too small. Get access to pro level funding and pro level capital with Hydra funding. Link's going to be below. Now, that's just the US 30 short. I'm also short in the S&P 500, of which I was way less early on. My entries on the S&P were actually much, much better, as I got in early on the US 30, basically due to the fact that the channel was trading in a different time frame on US 30. As we can see here, this was a different channel that was trading. As it was reaching resistance right here, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were not at resistance yet in their channels, as we can see here on the S&P 500. In this channel, the S&P 500 was about down here, which was something that I was concerned about, as I had mentioned multiple times in the Telegram Wolfpack group, as well as here on YouTube, saying, well, S&P 500 is, still got about 8% to go to reach that resistance level, whereas the US 30 was already there. So right now, we did see a complete fake out to break out above that. That was a little concerning for me because, I was thinking, okay, what if this is an actual breakout? The fact that the US 30 was so high, I just didn't think that was going to stick. We went on an epic run. There was no more news left to continue pushing up the market, and actually failed to break out over this pivot, basically creating a bull trap here as well, and also failing to hold above the actual trend line. If we also look at the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average, it also failed right here. A bunch of people were like tweeting about this, like, market's bullish, it's flipped, we're going full bull mode, we're finally back above the 200-day moving average. Wrong, fake out, looking like a bull trap here, which is going to lead to a potential breakdown of this ascending channel here. And if that cracks, I do think we're going to continue dropping lower, potentially to go retest those lows at about 35.82. And then I do think that if that happens, we're definitely potentially going to continue to drop and maybe go back down to about 3,200 to 3,000 and retest the lower channel, which is also going to be at this level of the pivot over here, right in this range. So that's kind of the longer term game plan for my short on S&P 500. As you can see, these are my entries, of which I freaking top ticked the FOMC. Mind you, I was down about $70,000 when the FOMC meeting was just getting released and we were peaking here. I'm going to say right now, the risk management wasn't the best on this trade, but I was a little bit early, and it all was because I was a little bit early on the US 30 trade. And I basically had to reevaluate the situation, of which I'm not going to say this was a good idea, but sometimes when you're early, you have to look at the trade from what it is right now. It's like, okay, forget that I'm early on the trade and I'm at a loss right now. Let me look at this from a other perspective of what if I'm looking at this right now and I haven't even entered? Is this looking like a good potential bull trap or an area where people are going to be a little bit too euphoric on buying and I could potentially short up here? And that's basically what I was looking at. I was looking at this trade as if I had not had any entry yet. And as it was playing out right here, it was faking out over here, or was getting a little too euphoric here on the news, of which you can see I basically top ticked this entry here on the S&P 500, and I also top ticked that entry on the US 30 right here as it was faking out over this high. I just didn't believe it was going to hold, and so I took even a little bit more risk. My stops here at about 35.2 on that US 30, and my stops were up, about 4,200 on the S&P 500. I put myself at a little bit more risk than I should have in this trade, and currently I'm up $20,000, but I was down $70,000. So I basically just did a $100,000 swing from top to the current price right now. And I do still think we're going to see kind of a slingshot back downwards after that fake out to the upside, which is going to potentially pull us back down to at least 32K, which I do think I'm going to make about $100,000 on this trade for the US 30 and S&P 500. But that's not all, guys. We are also short Bitcoin as of right now. As I've been talking about, I've been getting short this entire time, basically in this entire range here, I've been getting short because we do have this descending trend that's coming in right now, which is basically, as of today, it's about 19.4, but we have a lot of resistance between about 18.6 as well as the lows about 17.5. So basically in between 17.5 and 18.6, I basically just had a grid of orders, one Bitcoin, one Bitcoin, one Bitcoin, one Bitcoin, one Bitcoin. I still have two more orders between 18.5 and 18.8 to continually add, but I did top tick the orders between my second and third entries here were about 18.1 and 18.350. As you can see, the filled orders here, last orders filled were about 18,350, 17.5, 17.8, 18.83, and then the 18,350s. Been continually adding to my short because I do believe that Bitcoin is going to continually, maybe potentially even run up again, but I do still think that the crypto market is going to fail here in this recent term chart pattern here and then come back down to 9 to 13K, of which I'd like to make some bank going short on because we still don't know what's going to happen. The interest rates are still rising, even though they're slowing a little bit. It's hard to say what's going to happen, but I just don't think that we're ready for a bull run yet. And so right now I'm positioning myself, especially after the US 30 just went on a freaking record run for no fucking reason. This is basically just a euphoric reaction that based on the economic stance that I'm seeing right now, inflation, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm getting short. I do think we have at least a 9 to 10 to 12% pullback here to about 32, potentially even down to 30, potentially into 2023, even lower than that. But for me, who knows how many months that could take. I've already held this for a month and a half. I'd like to lock in some gains and then position myself to look at the next trade, also not get so over leveraged on this trade and actually have a little bit of sleep at night. That's the current situation. Plan is to make over 100K on this trade. And I hope to see Bitcoin to drop to 9 to 13K, of which I'll lock in my shorts as well. Also, BNB, not looking good. I think BNB could potentially be a good short. I also think Gala could be a good short. Gala has had no momentum at all. Every single Bitcoin rally, there's been no momentum. I think Gala is going to break these lows, potentially crack lower. I wanted to get short, but I did not enter when I entered short on Bitcoin. And I also think GMT is also getting ready for a big meltdown as well. I think GMT is very weak. It's not holding any rallies in the face of the crypto market rallying. I don't have any short position on this, but this cracking here, I do think it's going to continually go to brand new lows as well. But anyways, guys, that's a wrap for today. 6-figure trade coming soon. Mark my words, it's coming, right? I might lose. Who knows what's going to happen? That's trading. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Real-time update here, guys. Norbert just finished rendering the video, but Marcus is plummeted. Now I'm up about 54, 55K. I'm almost halfway to the 6-figure target, okay? Once this starts melting, I think we're going at least 32K and lower on US 30. We'll see. Up 50, 55K, not bad. Leg up.